You're listening to the Living Adventures podcast, a lifestyle podcast hosted by Ashley Milkey and Victoria Vance. Tune in for a new episode every Thursday to hear our honest conversations about topics like freedom, creativity, spirituality, luxury living, health and wellness, and above all else, building community.
We have real and unfiltered conversations inspired by our search to feel connected to people who give a shit about us, support our dreams, and understand our struggles. Our mission is to provide you with the tools, guidance, and motivation to navigate any moment in your life with the lens of your neurodivergent mind, with a community who gets you. Adventure on.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Living Adventures podcast. It's your host here, Ashley Milkey, with
Victoria Vance.
And we are so pumped today because we are talking to you about a theory, a concept that we've developed to explain what it means to be an entrepreneur. We always say, or I always say, and I'm sure Victoria agrees, that entrepreneurship is basically the greatest personal development journey you could ever go on in your life. And there's so much to it. And so we're going to break down what that is, what it looks like, how entrepreneurship in the corporate world have started to mimic each other, why that's a bad thing, and what you can do about it to really find yourself in this world and really create a business that supports your purpose and your goals and your dream life.
It's crazy. It's a wild ride. And it's going to be big. So we could do a little bit of stuff of what's been going on before we dive into it. I literally cried this morning. I got the fucking sweetest comment on a TikTok. It was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy to watch your videos every single day. And I'm like, I don't even post every single day. And I just started crying. It was really nice. I didn't know I needed to hear that today.
That's so sweet.
You know?
But yeah, you're welcome, people. Something I've been thinking about is I made a post about this yesterday. And it's things like that where it's like one little moment makes your day. And that genuinely brought you joy versus people telling you that it should bring you joy. For example, when someone's like, oh, I'm only getting 100 views. And you're like, well, that's 100 people. You should be so grateful. That's 100 people paying attention to you. And everyone makes it seem like we should just be happy with what we get. And I agree, we should be happy and grateful for all of those things. But also, it's not like you were living for that comment to come. It's not like you were waiting for that comment to feel validated. You've just been living your life. And I think a lot of people, and you all know I hate affirmations. This is why, because it's just a blanket. It's a blanket statement to be like, I should be happy because 100 people are watching me. And it's like, no, you should be happy even if 0 people are watching you. You need to get to the place where you can do anything you want and you're happy. And I think that's what you do on TikTok is you do whatever you want and you're happy after it. And cool bonuses like lots of views and people loving you showing up, even if it's not every day. And I think that's cool. And that's really what you should strive for versus like the blanket, oh, well, I should be happy because one person, like, no.
I think you don't like the affirmations that are like that because they're vanity affirmations in a sense.
Yeah.
Because, views is a vanity metric. And so then saying like, oh, just appreciate your views. It's like, that's not really what you should be appreciating at all. And that's why I love just doing my own thing. And so then when somebody tells me that, it, one, reminds me to stop and appreciate where I am and what I've been doing, but also that people can see that and love that and enjoy that for whatever it is that they do. And that's why that means so much more. And so that's why if I ever do make affirmations, they're normally affirmations off of what I need to hear and do. And so I don't go with generic affirmations. It's more like, okay, after therapy, here are the main points that we hit on today and that I need to be focusing on over the next week or 2 weeks, whenever the next session is. And it's created off of that. And that way it's not a vanity metric. And I think too many affirmations are vanity metrics.
No, they are. It's the same thing with the people saying, oh, when you go to the gym, just say no one's looking at you and no one cares about you. Sure, you can say that, but what if people are looking at you? It's almost like people create these affirmations that are lies and our subconscious is like, I know that's a lie. It's almost the ADHD trick where people say, well, just give yourself an earlier deadline and then you'll get it done because you'll procrastinate on the early deadline. And your brain is like, I'm not dumb. I know the deadline's really not until Friday. I'm going to wait until Friday. And people just make it seem like we can trick ourselves. And it's not about tricking yourself. You're right. It's about finding the right thing and the right motivation and the right tool that works for you, that it can't be a blanket statement because it's going to be for you.
And I agree with that so strongly is whenever my therapist has never said this to me, but if she were to say this to me, and like I did tell her this, like, you know, people are like, oh, nobody's looking at you. I'm looking at everyone, so people are fucking looking.
Yeah,
I know they are.
Why are we lying to ourselves?
But I will say, now I don't. So that's something to be said. There is, I don't look as much, and that's because I worked on a lot of my anxiety. I will say TBM. Inner child and shadow, that shit hits if you want to work on some of your deep-rooted anxiety that might stem from childhood stuff that you might not even realize, and how even, you know, like a year up to your birth is a very important time in your life, even though you're not really like there and you're just in the womb, like the things that are going on in your parents' lives impact you just from the start. And so pay attention to that shit, and can cause you anxiety later in life. And when you can kind of heal on that on a subconscious level, I don't necessarily look at people anymore. Also, something Ashley said, and I don't know if this is true, but when you said that, like, the more people's faces you look at, the more people that can show up in your dreams. And so like you try to not look at people's faces. That also kind of helped me. And so there's two things, is actually don't really look at people anymore.
I know, I think that's true. I've heard it somewhere. I've heard it many times. But yeah, one time
I don't have any science to believe that, but like
no.
You just saying that, I was just like, look, I'm just going to trust her on this, and we're just going to head down.
I literally said, I don't need any more people in my dreams. My dreams are chaotic enough. I do not need to look at people. I am so good.
And so for that, I don't look at people anymore. And so
I think also, though, you don't look at people because you're confident in yourself. And it's almost as if you think people are looking at you, you're going to look at people to make sure they're not looking at you. And if you think you're going to be judged, you want to make sure you're judging other people to, like, we're sussing out where we exist on the hierarchy of fitness or confidence or whatever we are in life. And when you get to the place where you know, I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm going to be bad at it, but I'm going to get it done. I'm going to look stupid, but I'm going to get it done. I'm going to be a beast at this, and I'm going to get it done. You don't need to look at other people because you have that confidence in yourself. And that's why blanket statement affirmations such as no one's looking at me will never work, because you have to find an inner confidence. That's what actually shifts things. I cannot just say I don't care about my TikTok views. I have to find the inner confidence to shift that and truly get to a place where I can do whatever I want and not give a shit about TikTok views. And so that is my daily tangent on affirmations are stupid when you use them incorrectly.
I feel like affirmations, most people, the way they use affirmations are generally just like toxic positivity things.
Yes, it's quite literally spiritual bypassing. Just acting like there's not a problem when there is a problem.
And it's like okay to have fucking problems, everybody. Remember last week, we love having problems.
Yes, and I realized this about myself. One of the ways I have toxic positivity that supports my perfectionism in a really bad way is, you know, I think there's a part of me that is messy and messes things up, and I shame that side of myself. So instead of thinking that part is allowed to exist, I say things like, well, I'm not going to mess this up. I couldn't mess this up. You know, I have it all together. I'll get this right. I'm really good at this. And those are affirmations people might perceive as good things. I'm confident. I have it all together. But that is aiding perfectionism in a horrible way, because we're going to mess things up. We're freaking humans. And so you can't just think that way. You have to think, even if I mess things up, I get to do whatever I want. Even if I mess things up, things will still work out for me because I'm a human. And there's a side of me that doesn't get it all right, especially because I have ADHD, especially because I just do not care about the details the way a neurotypical would. And if I let that part of me exist and know that I can still get everything I want, even with that side of me, that's so much more empowering than trying to lie to myself and saying, I have it all together, I'm confident, or whatever the affirmation would be.
Yeah. And that's why I hate affirmations. And we just started off very hot.
I love it because if we're starting off hot, it's going to be a podcast that you want to listen to, because that means we got feelings. We're invested in this today. Here we go. We
are invested in this today, everybody.
And I am invested in this because the first thing we're going to talk about is the corporate ladder. And if there is anything I love to shit on, it is the 9-to-5 lifestyle. I will go off for days about this as someone who has been scarred by the 9-to-5 lifestyle.
I feel like I don't have that much shit to say, but that's because you've dealt with so much more shit on it. So, like, I'll just take a small seat back and let you.
So we'll dive in.
I have things to say, but, like, they'll be after what she says.
And they might be a little more calm, little cool, a little more collected than what I gotta say. So Victoria and I have realized in our own journeys that the corporate ladder, for example, you get a job and then you get a promotion and then another promotion and you're making more money and you're following the rules and you're doing the right things and you're making a great impression and you're constantly bettering your life and your world by climbing that corporate ladder, is now shifting into an entrepreneur ladder, where the promise that we once received in the corporate world, do a great job, climb this ladder, get a promotion, and one day you'll have all the success, all the riches, all the acknowledgement you could ever wanted, has now shifted into this entrepreneur world, this entrepreneur ladder, where we're doing the same thing. We're trying to make more money every month. We're trying to climb this ladder. We're trying to get more fame, more recognition, more followers, so we can get to the top and get what we were promised: a lot of money, a lot of success, and a lot of recognition. And with the corporate ladder, a lot of times what used to happen, which really isn't the vibe anymore, is people could climb the corporate ladder, and they did it pretty successfully, and they did it pretty fast. And once they reached the top, they would get to a place where they're like, okay, I'm retiring now. I'm shifting out of this job. I became CEO. I became a director. I became a VP. I became everything I ever wanted to be, but now what? And there's so many books and there's so much guidance on what to do when you finish a career and how you find fulfillment and purpose in your life. And the same thing is happening in entrepreneurship, but it's happening a lot faster. But it's toxic in both situations and so different than the way it's presented.
And I will say, I actually don't think the corporate ladder exists anymore. I think the way we think of that doesn't exist, because even actually thinking back to just me working at Blue Bottle coffee shop, shitty ass coffee shop, and in full on greenwashing, if anybody wants to know, don't go there. They're owned by Nestle. Anyways, I remember when I was working there that they would hire out for the leader positions instead of hiring from within and raising you like they say they do. For weird reasons, because there was two things of, one, if you do it from inside, you'll make less money. But then if they hire from the outside, they're getting better people with different experience and they pay them more. And so the going from the inside, it doesn't work anymore. Even inside of just a fucking coffee shop, that corporate ladder doesn't exist. You have to go elsewhere to get the more money, or literally there's a difference. I think once somebody that was an internal hire into the leadership position, I think they were making $40,000 to $50,000, but then somebody they hired outside was making $80,000 in the same fucking city. So don't even say like, oh, well, it's different cities and blah, blah, blah. No, that's literally in the same year, different in the same city.
It's so funny you bring up coffee shops, because I think the only time I've seen this corporate ladder play out in any kind of way that almost looked like it was when my friend worked at Starbucks. She started as a barista, and then she became the shift lead, and then she became the general manager, and now she got promoted to a job that's not like a district manager, but it's kind of a little bit greater than that. And it's when you're in Starbucks, that's like a floor position. You're in the store, you're not working at corporate. And from what I have heard about Starbucks, the leap from those in-store positions to a corporate position is a hard leap to make because of what you're saying. Because they're hiring outside people who have degrees, specific degrees for this kind of thing, who've already run operations in other parts of other businesses. And there's definitely not this idea that you can start at the bottom and climb to the top of a company anymore. That would not happen. You have to leverage your skills and your talent to do what Victoria said and find other positions. But even if I think of myself, when I was working a 9-to-5 and I was in a marketing department, I started as an intern. So yes, started as an intern. We're at the bottom of the ladder. And then eventually I got promoted and I got a full-time position, and I became the manager of PR and marketing for my office. And I'm like, okay, I'm climbing the ladder, right? I'm doing what they said with this corporate ladder. I'm up. But then once I realized I got that manager position, there was never going to be a space within the next 10 to 15 years for me to get any higher, because all the positions, the director positions, the VP positions were taken by people who we very much knew were never leaving. And so there was no climbing up there. That, if you looked at the people who had those positions, those manager positions, they were there for 10, 20 years, and they were never leaving. So you're right, the corporate ladder doesn't exist, and it's really weird because I remember being in college and thinking, I'm going to climb the ladder. I'm going to become the VP of marketing. I'm going to become the CMO, the chief marketing officer one day, and I'm going to run all of those things. And I could have done that if I continuously shifted companies and leveraged my skills in different companies. But the idea that you can start in one company, climb that ladder all the way to the top, not really existing anymore.
Yeah. And so it's switched now to inside of entrepreneurship is the new kind of corporate ladder. Mm-hmm. And I think people are just starting to like gain grasp of that realization. And that's why, you know, there's so much popular of, okay, because like the lack of unions, basically, honestly, I love the fucking TikToks that are like, the reason why everything you hate now always goes back to Reagan. And there's like this girl who does it and she explains it so clearly and she just talks like this. She goes, and Reagan did this and then this and then this and then this, and just traces it so well. I feel like I'm saying that right now, but honestly, basically since unions went bye-bye, entrepreneurship has honestly been on the rise. Also just because like we've been acknowledging mental health also, I think has been increasing it to be on the rise because you can take care of your own mental health better when you are in charge of it. And I also think it's in a sense to gain control, because in the entrepreneurship journey is like we're gaining back more control over our ladder stepping process. Yeah. Because you can not that you can necessarily control sales, but you can control the ability to increase.
Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is I think people who shift from the corporate ladder to this entrepreneurship ladder don't realize they're just entering another ladder situation. But it's happening because the motivation for both is the same. In the corporate ladder, your motivation is the material world. You want money, you want a nice house, you want good food, you want all of those things. And when you realize you will not get that from the corporate world in a timely manner, we should say. I mean, if you look at the statistics, the number of millennials who are renting instead of owning homes is ridiculous because millennials cannot afford homes using their corporate salaries. They shift into thinking that the entrepreneurship world will deliver them that same material success that the corporate world once promised. They think they're going to get the nice home, the fancy car, maybe even a private jet since we're in the entrepreneurship world and there's no cap on income here. And all of a sudden we start climbing a different ladder. And the reason why Victoria and I say that this is a ladder is because it's based so heavily on the metrics and the numbers you are able to make in terms of income. $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month. What's your next goal? $50,000, $100,000 a month, $1 million, $2 million. And it's so focused on the numbers you can bring in for your company so that you can get the nice house, the nice car, the big salary that you always wanted for yourself, maybe even a private jet.
And you're sold this because when we see all of this online, I'm sure everybody listening sees this, is quit your 9-to-5 to build your dream life. But at the same time, you're also being sold the message that, okay, you build your own business so you can build your own life and you can gain all of that wealth and everything that can give you access. But also, quit my 9-to-5 to work 24/7 and never have any days off. And because people don't pay attention to that, both of those ideas are competing with each other right now. That's why it's literally just the new corporate ladder where people don't know how to take the boundaries and take vacation and take time off and take care of themselves. So then they're generally doing what they used to do in corporate ladder and just doing it again inside of entrepreneurship.
Yes, and money is the motive. So the reason why we put up with it in entrepreneurship is because of the promise. And a lot of us get here. I mean, I fulfilled the promise of making a shit ton of money in my business.
Yeah.
I was still burning myself out. I was working more than I would have worked at a 9-to-5, but it was worth it at that time because, again, what was my motivation? Material success. If I was making a shit ton of money, it didn't matter how much time I was spending working because I was making in a month what my salary was in a year. And that was like ladder
it feels
climbed.
Cool. It's crazy to think that.
Yeah.
And especially at such a fucking fucking young age. And something I really want to address here is how the ability now to do this ladder so fast and so young. So much entrepreneurship. I've been fed entrepreneurship online since I was maybe, 18, even before that then, and I just didn't really pay attention to it, but especially in the design space. And it's crazy because I remember somebody being like, people asking what you want to do in college or whatever, and design space is kind of weird. And there was this kid that I hated, and he was like, oh, I want to like make my own design firm or whatever. And I was just like, he wants to be an entrepreneur? That's so weird. Haha, flashback, now me. Or fast forward, now me. But it's also, we can do this at such a fucking young age where our brain's not developed. Also, I just learned that your brain doesn't actually develop when you're 25. That was just a made up metric because they were like obsessed with like studying your brain at 25 or whatever. It can be between anywhere, but before you're like 35 kind of it will develop. There's no necessarily one day at 25. But our brains aren't fully fucking developed and everything. We're still figuring out our life and everything. Your 20s are really, honestly, like your fucking teens. Your 20s are just an extension of your fucking teens. But with the fact that you were able to do this and build that much wealth at 20 is fucking absurd.
Right. I was 25 when I started my business. I was 25, and in a single month, I was making my yearly salary. So to me, corporate ladder... Screw that. Entrepreneur ladder is what's up, because I felt like I made it to the top of the ladder, make multiple six figures in a year. I was never going to do that in a 9-to-5. That wasn't going to happen until I was 35, 40 if I played my cards right kind of thing.
And when I was like 16, I somehow thought I would make $100,000 before I was 25. I thought I would be making 100. And then now I am. So it's like, yeah, I'm doing it, right? I'm fulfilling my child's dream.
Yeah, you would never imagine my disappointment, my first 9-to-5 out of college when I got my salary and it was not $100,000. I said, I went to college. You guys told me to get this mother effing degree. For what? For mother effing what? Why did I get it? And so, all of that anger leads us to this entrepreneurship ladder. We can make a shit ton of money, and it's so fun and it's so exciting. But the same thing is happening to us now that happens to people after they climb the corporate ladder. They get everything they want, as we realize, oh, wait a second, at 25, what if money isn't the motive? Like, what if there's more to life here than just making a shit ton of money? Could that even be true? And it's a weird spot to be in because at 25, money is wild. When did we ever have that much money as kids? We didn't. We're basically mini adults here. And now we're presented with all this money. And a lot of people will just be obsessed with the money for a really long time. But a lot of people are like us, where they get to the point they're like, is this ladder a scam? Because it doesn't feel very fun anymore. Climbing it was cool, but I don't think I want to keep climbing it anymore. I don't think I care about the cool house and the nice car, and there must be a better way to get those things if that's what I want.
Yeah, because I noticed pretty early on that things weren't bringing me happiness, and that kind of is a big push to what led me. And I also, at the same time, because lovely social media, you see those old people videos of, okay, like, what did you wish you knew for your 20s and 30s? What if you could go back? What would you do differently? And, often they're saying, like, oh, spend time with friends, like, money doesn't matter, do the career change, do whatever you want, like, spend time with friends and family, take more risk and whatever. I was like, okay, well, I've realized that by the time of 23, 24, money is fake.
Money is so fake.
Yeah, it does take a lot of privilege to be able to say that, and
True.
I built that privilege to myself. I acknowledge that privilege on a fucking daily basis, but also, holy fucking shit, it's fake. So then what else out there? Because if this isn't bringing me happiness, because if I'm honest, things never brought me happiness, and that's because ADHD, one, buying things just gives me insane decision fatigue. Also, two, not that I'm a minimalist, but having things just causes me anxiety in the sense of like having to choose more. So I don't like having a massive closet because having to choose between all these different outfits and everything, like that causes me anxiety. So why am I going to put anxiety into my life when it doesn't need to be there? Or like having an even bigger space than I can clean and take care of. It's just, but we're fed to want that stuff. And so from an early age, I did feel that in between of like, I don't actually want that. So then what actually is going to provide me happiness? And that's something that definitely helped us lead down this journey.
Well, and I'll say too is you're fed things that you should want to buy as an individual, but you're also a 20-something-year-old with a budget inside of a business, at least me, that is multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It's like a double budget because you get the personal one because it's like, I mean, with the profit first method, it's like, okay, so I get half of it inside my business and half of it in my regular wallet. So now I have two.
Right. And for me, my struggle whenever I was making so much money that I had no idea what to do with it. And I knew I didn't want to pay taxes on it. So I was like, I'm going to find a way to spend all this. And
any financial person is going to say, spend the fucking money.
Spend the money. And because this entrepreneur ladder isn't in support of the individual, it's in the support of the business and seeking the money and the status and the material things, the things that you spend the money on further your unhappiness, because I was spending money on marketing teams, VAs, coaching programs, courses, all things that I thought would bring me happiness, that I thought would be a good way to spend the money. And now if I look back, I just wish I paid myself more and would have paid the taxes because I didn't need any of those things. But the entrepreneur ladder feeds to you that you need these things. The entrepreneurship ladder says, okay, once you start making $20K a month, you better hire a team. You better have a big team. Okay, make that team bigger. Make that team bigger. You know, we just saw someone leave the business coaching space and she had a team of 10, 11 people because she thought she needed to have that size of a team because that's what the entrepreneurship ladder says. Act like a CEO, be a CEO. And I get that we're companies when we start entrepreneurship journeys, but the forcing of this idea that you need to be a CEO and you need to operate like a CEO and use data and use all of this stuff, it just feels as if we're trying to create, like we said, this other ladder.
And it's like, okay, what the fuck does it mean to be a CEO then? Like, what is your definition? What is the definition that's being sold to me as a CEO and everything? And all of that stuff is just made up to like continue this cycle of like, oh, you have to go hire people and because hiring people will get you time back. Okay, hiring people will get you time back. Hiring people cost me more fucking time and money. So that didn't work out. That didn't get me closer to the dream life.
But
I was told.
You were told, hire people. It's just all of these made up rules. We first start off in the corporate world with the corporate ladder and the corporate rules. And what no one wants to acknowledge is that the entrepreneur world has their own made up rules that we've been told to follow, that we somehow, even though we're all siloed doing our own thing, through our online access and connection, have all started to follow the same and similar rules, which don't make sense for everyone. Everyone is going to do business a little bit differently. Everyone is going to benefit from different things. Maybe someone does need a team member. Maybe someone doesn't. Maybe someone needs 10. Maybe someone needs 2, and that is the biggest problem, is not just the fact that we're still climbing and we have to do better and better and top ourselves every single month, but also that we're just doing things because we think we have to, because that's what we're told will get us to the dream.
And we're not taking time to define what a CEO means to us, what we want to be as a CEO, what that can even look like, why we need a team member, what they can really help us with. And because, I will have we will have team members one day, but only when we find it ready. 2, things that align with us. And 3, that it doesn't cause us more fucking stress and time in our lives. Because if that's adding more, then what the hell is the point of having it?
I will say, as a CEO, whenever I thought of myself as a CEO, I realize now I don't want to be a CEO. I feel like I am more of an artist than a CEO, because whenever I thought of myself as a CEO, I thought of myself as the chaotic CEO, the one who said, I have this vision, I have this dream, go execute this, go do this, make this happen. I do not care about the details. When I hired people, I did not care how they got things done. I did not care what their style was. I did not care what it looked like. I wanted experts who had full autonomy to make decisions, because I want to operate in my zone of genius, and that is being artistic and creative and thoughtful and all of those things that we both are. And that, I think, is where people get lost, is what does CEO mean to you? Because CEO that's fed to us is way different than the kind of CEO that I want to be. I want to be free flowing and have things be easy. And I'm not a manager. I do not want to manage people. I do not want to coach team members on how to do the right thing, yada, yada. Like, I will have to hire someone to do that for me because I just want to exist and vibe and create art and use whatever creations that I come up with to better the world and better people. But I want to be like, directly putting my hand in the pot to better the people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
So Victoria and I had that realization, right? That hot take right there. And that really wasn't something we described until recently. But even before that, we've started to notice there's this pattern in entrepreneurship. And we, in small ways, we're starting to realize we don't love what's fed to us about what entrepreneurship is. And there was a day when Victoria and I went to an event and we were sitting there and this guy was talking to us, and it wasn't about business, but somehow it became about business when he was talking. And he was saying, you guys need to start businesses. You know, you're going to change your life. You have to start a business. It's going to give you so much money. It's going to give you so much success. You're going to be sitting there and all of a sudden you're going to be making $10,000 working like 2 hours a day. The dream that's promised to all of us who are in corporate jobs, by the way. And I remember sitting there looking at him and just thinking, this man is a level 2 talking to level 1s, and I'm a level 7. And it didn't really make sense to me at the time why that thought crossed my head, but it felt so right. I could just so clearly see that he was at this place where his motivation was material success, talking to other people in the corporate world who wanted that entrepreneur material success. But I was so far removed from that I was just like getting the ick. And then when Victoria and I started talking about this after he finished talking, the theory that we're going to tell you.
And it was so crazy because, you know, he was like one of the last people to speak. And so everybody else kind of was like saying why they're there or whatever. And they're like, oh, you know, like I'm buying one-way tickets, or like I'm hoping to start my entrepreneurship journey. And we didn't realize like how young the people that were there, what it was going to be. We just kind of went to like figure things out and like, why the fuck not? Like, whatever, try things out. And then the second he opened his mouth, I literally was biting the inside of my cheek so hard not to burst out laughing because I was like, oh, I don't belong here. And it was so funny because when we first got, like, when we were getting off the elevator walking in, Ashley's like, oh, what if you meet, like, your future husband here? And literally within 30 seconds, we walk in the room, and then she goes, sorry, he's not here. I was just like, no, he's not here. And it was just like, we realized, like, slowly over the time we were there, how much we didn't belong there. And we could have belonged there, give us, like, 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. We would have been there, and it would have made so much sense to us. But because of what we know and, like, have been realizing and tearing down our businesses, and you've seen us go through all the past 6 months, we're like, oh, all they care about right now is, like, money, building one-way tickets because they're just so unhappy with their life and they want to get out, which is so fucking valid and fine and everything.
Mm-hmm. It's step
but
one.
It also, they think they're a lot higher than they think they are, and it's really sad because that's when we realize, like, we put ourselves into a massive rut. And what's the word? Rock bottom.
Rock bottom.
We did a chosen rock bottom. We're like, oh, they're going to have to one day choose that, and that's going to suck even harder for them. The more...
Yeah. Because basically what we realized is entrepreneurship is evolution. And entrepreneurship is not just about the business that you create. It's about who you become as you grow through entrepreneurship. And no one talks about that. No one talks about that because no one cares about you as an individual. It's so money motivated. And the people who do care about the real life experiences that you gain through entrepreneurship are so few and far between. And they're not the ones talking about it, because what happens when you get to a place that, what we'll talk about, this level 10 where you're living your actual dream life, you don't need to talk about it. You don't feel this pressure to tell everyone how amazing your life is because you are inherently validated by this. And so what we realized is there's 10 levels to entrepreneurship, and every level is a new evolution. Every level is a new version of you, and there's new things that you care about, and new things that you're motivated by, and new things that you're seeking out of business and out of life. And a lot of people, like Victoria said, start off at that level level 1. They start off where they're stuck in a job they don't like, a life they don't love, and they want something new, and they believe that path is entrepreneurship, and all they're seeking usually at that time is what Victoria said, material success. The money, the car, the success, the fame, the things that they can no longer get out of the the corporate ladder. But
you know what I just fucking realized is when everyone was talking at that event, everyone was just saying, like, the one-way ticket, I need to get funds, and I want to do something, I don't want to be here. I was the only person, because I actually used that event to release some shadow work that I was doing, because, like, I realized, I was like, okay, I don't belong here, and I don't give a shit, so this is a good time of low effort, low stakes of me releasing myself, of saying, okay, so I actually hated my business, and it made me really unhappy, and I realized I was very unkind to myself in it, and the workaholic nature chased me again, and over the past, I've been working on that again, and I burnt my business down to the ground to rebuild and see what's right for me and actually build something that's good for me. Not one single person ever talked about themselves. Everybody just talked about the money. Even he and her did.
Right, they talked about, I want money,
Nobody
I want fame,
talked
I
about
want
feelings
success.
and them.
True, because they're level 1. They're not motivated by that. And so there's all kinds of levels that you'll go through, level 1, 2, 3, and we can talk about those on another time. But what I think was really important for us to know in this entrepreneurship evolution that we have both gone through, and we're not finished, we're still going through the evolution, is that there will come a point in your entrepreneurship journey where the money no longer brings you happiness, where the fame no longer brings you joy, and the helper's high of that feeling that I am giving back to a community, I'm helping so many people, so much so that you sacrifice yourself, will also no longer bring you joy. And you hit this wall. And this used to be the corporate ladder wall where you retired and now you hit a wall because what are you supposed to do with your life? You hit this wall in entrepreneurship, and a lot of us are hitting this in our 20s and our 30s, way before most people do. Quarter life crisis vibes, where we're burnt out. We dread everything we're doing. We have too high expectations for ourselves, and we know we can't continue on the path that we've created for ourselves, but we feel guilty because we did everything we were supposed to do. Shouldn't we just be happy with what we've created?
Yeah. And, we can go through this journey anywhere in our life and any time, and there's no wrong time to go through that. I want that to be said. Like, I would be happy even at least to do this in my 50s. Like, I'd rather have the experience of doing it than not. And so there's no rush to get to this experience. It just, like, understanding where you are in this journey and whatever, and just appreciating where you are, and, like, it's okay to be wherever you are. And I think that's something I definitely had to really learn in December. That started to really hit in my life, of just accepting where I am, and, like, it is what it is, and I could keep growing. But if I just get mad at where I constantly am, I'm never gonna get up there and get better. And so don't take it as a bad thing.
Yeah, whatever level you're at in entrepreneurship, it doesn't matter. It's just, these are the facts. This is the experience you'll go through. I know that 6 months ago, or I don't know if it's 6 months, I keep saying 6 months, in August is when I really felt I was so over everything, and the benefit of serving people and helping people start businesses and grow massive amounts of wealth that impacts their family and themselves, that didn't bring me joy anymore. And
literally, she would scream about it. While cycling, she would scream about it. You're probably crazy.
Fine. I just couldn't. I didn't like the programs I was selling. I didn't want to do one-on-one coaching anymore. I was tired of helping the same people that I had been helping for 2 years. And I knew I needed to slow down. And that's when I actually created my burnout breakup program, because I had gone through burnout. I was still going through burnout, but I had gone through the first half of it. And I thought, maybe if I sold a program where I help people with something I actually like talking about right now, burnout, resting more, valuing yourself, I could enjoy my life a little bit more. And then it felt like all motivation was lost, because even that wasn't bringing me joy anymore. Selling that wasn't bringing me joy. And I just stopped caring about anything. I stopped caring about having a team, making money, selling things, posting things. I just wanted to scream because I needed so badly to take a break and find a direction I actually wanted to follow.
Yeah. it was a dark time. That was for December for us, and it's when we finally just chose the rock bottom, and kind of having it in December was helpful because we're like, okay, you know what? It's the holidays. We don't even really have anything to sell. So, like, fine, let's just use that as an excuse and let's just, like, vibe with it, which was so helpful to me. I really enjoyed that, like, timing just really works out for us and in the weirdest ways. And during that, we really just, like, rested and relaxed. And slowly throughout the December, we kind of figured things out and got back up on our feet a little bit, but also just kept getting knocked down. And something that I literally turned to Ashley while cycling one day. I was like, I realize the next 3 months, the biggest thing that I'm going to have to work on is prioritizing myself in a way like I've never done before. And it's going to be hard and it's going to suck. And Ashley goes, I had that same thought last night. And I was like, fuck.
Yeah. In December, it was scary because I had to let go of anything that was stopping me from prioritizing myself, setting boundaries in a way I had never set boundaries before. I told everyone I was not selling Burnout Breakup anymore. I was going to show them what it looked like to break up with burnout. I shut down programs. I stopped posting consistently. And there's so many fears that are attached with this when you are stuck in the entrepreneur ladder. The lies that we're told, if you don't post every single day, you're going to become irrelevant. You need to show up consistently. You need to always have a sales plan. You need to know what you're selling. And I had to straight up say, because I knew if I didn't choose myself, everything would fall apart anyway, that all those things that I've been told don't matter and they're not true. And I'm going to believe that this will work out for me. And if my intuition is telling me that I need to stop, then I'm going to listen to that and I'm going to stop. And I don't know the direction. I don't know the next step. I don't know what I want out of life right now, but I know I need to choose myself. And that's what we did. We chose ourselves for an entire month. And I think the other thing that happened during that month, actually 2 things that were really important in this level 7 or level 6 chosen rock bottom, was we grieved our old dreams. We both decided, okay, I'm going to be sad that the life I built and I thought was my dream is not my dream. And I'm going to go through the feelings of what that is because, I mean, I had been in business for 2 years. That was my dream. I thought when I found life coaching, this was it. This was my purpose. This was everything I was meant to do. So to get slapped in the face and be like, this is not everything you've ever wanted to do, and not know what it was that I wanted to do, felt like a hit, like a huge blow to everything I ever thought was true. So we had to grieve that. But the second thing is we had to dismantle all of those old beliefs that we'd been taught, not just through entrepreneurship, not just through the corporate world, but also through childhood, thinking about what's our relationship with work, with money, with productivity, with getting our needs met, with thinking that we can have anything we want any way we want. We had to go through all of that and prioritize that before we even started thinking about what the heck could come from business.
Yeah, because, I mean, it wasn't really, we didn't have any ideas. And it was terrifying to admit that. And that's why it felt even worse, I think, because we just didn't have any light at the end of the tunnel. And I was just falling blindly into my life down a hill that I was terrified to go on. And I was like, you know what? The light at the end of the tunnel was that I was doing it with Ashley and I wasn't doing it alone.
I could not have done this by myself. I don't think I would have been able to. And you're so right. It felt like you get to level 5 of entrepreneurship, all your dreams, all your goals, all this money. And it does feel like you climbed this really big hill. And then all of a sudden, if you're not happy and you're not taking care of yourself, it is a free fall down to the bottom. You are flying through the air. We had no idea what was going to come next. We had no idea what we were supposed to do. And I'm literally so grateful I didn't go through this alone, because there was someone else to be like, these are my feelings. Are you feeling that way? And I would say, yep, I'm feeling that way too. Glad I'm not alone. And just knowing that we both believed in each other at different times was so helpful, because there could be a day when I was down and Victoria's like, nah, we'll get this. It'll work out, yada, yada. And I'm like, okay, well, it'll work out. And then vice versa. It's just a different kind of support, and no one in our lives could relate to this. No one I know could have related to this.
I genuinely felt like I was so silent during the 2 months of like level 6 and level 7 of December to January. I didn't have shit to say, because I didn't feel like, I know it is relatable. And like looking back at it, I understand it is. But in that time going through it, I genuinely couldn't tell anybody, because I didn't want questions. And I think this goes into like some trauma, and which is kind of funny because it's like, as a manifestor, my strategy is to inform, and I'm just supposed to let you know what I'm doing so that people like, you know, can leave me alone. But with how I was raised and with emotional neglect and everything, is I felt like I couldn't have my needs met and I couldn't address my needs or anything, because then like bad things will come and I'll just be ignored and whatever. And so I genuinely never felt like I could tell anybody that, hey, I'm burning this to the ground. I'm fucking miserable. I have no idea what I'm doing. And I also don't know what's next. And admitting that to myself, and I mean with Ashley at the same time, was just so hard that if I had said that to other people and then they go, well, what are you going to do next? What are you doing? It's like I couldn't handle those questions.
Especially on the internet, especially if you made a post like, I'm not going to do this business anymore. Everybody wants to know, what are you going to do next? What does this mean? What are you doing? Even in the way that I've like cryptically started to talk about how I burnt my business to the ground, but I haven't told everyone our next direction because we haven't launched it yet. I've gotten so many questions of, I don't know what this means. I don't know what you're doing. All of these things. And it felt like I was stuck in this internal world. And you're right, I had all these thoughts, all these feelings, but I couldn't share them. Not because it wasn't safe, but because I wasn't ready to, because I didn't have the answers yet. And I wanted the answers because I wanted to make sense of this. And I think it's okay when you're at this level and you want to make sense of it for yourself. And you don't want to do a big announcement of all you're doing. I didn't make a big announcement saying I'm closing down one-on-one coaching. I didn't tell anybody. I just shut down the page. I didn't make a big announcement saying I wasn't going to promote my courses and my programs anymore. I just stopped. And that felt freeing because I don't think I have to justify myself to anyone, but the online space, the entrepreneur world, especially when you leverage social media to do it, makes it seem like you owe your audience everything when that is not the case.
And now looking back at it, I'm like, I could have done that. It would have been fine, but I wasn't in the headspace to be able to do that like I am now. It's like, I don't owe anything. I don't give a shit anymore. I know that, like, this morning, I even told Ashley, like, my strategy right now is to inform. I need to just post when I want, say the things I want, and really do that. And there's been so many things I feel like I've been holding back on because people aren't ready or whatever. And I'm like, why the fuck am I doing that? It's not my job to do all of that. What am I doing to myself? And so it's like, yeah, I still face it sometimes, but it's definitely not as heavy and severe, and I'm breaking it up. But I think it's also so important to, during that period, have people to help you. Because like we said, is like, I wouldn't have been able to go through those into 3 months of February alone. And to have Ashley's support there has been so fucking helpful. There's been so many countless nights crying. We've cried to each other so much. And then, I mean, honestly, the amount of times we've all cried, like, after recording the podcast of like then talking about things is just astronomical, everybody.
Literally.
But something is, I feel I want others to have that same support, and not that like asking questions like, well, then what's next, but just support at where you are in that level. And I think it's so important to have that provided to you to help you go through that journey, because it is so terrifying and just unknown waters.
It is so terrifying, and you have to be with people. And you know, it wasn't just 3 months of us doing this, because I remember it was in the summer when we both were like, we aren't happy doing what we're doing. What are we going to do? And we had no idea. And then we started to kind of explore it even more in Mexico. And so this was like months and months of us with these feelings, trying to figure out what they mean. And you're so right. Support is necessary when you make it to the top and you realize you're not happy, and the right support is necessary, because we were both at the same place. We both had made our dreams come true and realized it didn't bring us happiness. But let's say we were talking to, like we said, a level 1 who just wanted to get out of our corporate job. They wouldn't understand. They would say, what do you mean? You have the dream life, you have the business, you have the luxury apartment, you're living in Mexico. That's everything I've ever wanted. You have to find a community of people who are going through that same experience or have gone through that experience, so they can say, I see you. I've been there. I recognize the pain that you're going through. I recognize the fear. You're not alone. Because if you don't have that community, it's really hard. I mean, imagine if I told my parents, and like they understand anything I do, but if I was like, oh, I hate my business, I'm going to stop selling everything, they are going to be like, how are you going to make money? What are you going to do? And emphasize the fears I was already having. I was already worried about how I was going to make money. I was already worried about how I was going to pay my bills, what I was going to do. And they're false fears because I'm safe and I have money and I have money coming in and everything works out. But if someone doesn't understand the experience, they're going to make the experience worse by asking you those questions. Versus I would never once ask Victoria, how are you going to pay your bills? I do not give a shit how Victoria pays her bills, because just like her, I believe that it's all going to work out for us and the right opportunities are going to come and the right things are going to happen because we're choosing and prioritizing ourselves and our intuition so much. And you're so right, that community of people who can do that for you is necessary to actually do this evolution right.
And also at the same time is deal with, like, help you deal and, like, work through the vigorous changes that you're going with. Like, it felt like we were in a boat just getting sloshed around back and forth. And so it's like, one day I'll say this and the next day I'm all the way to, like, this idea.
And there's no judgment.
To not be like, well, what did you do? And, like, how did you get there? And blah, blah, blah. It's just like, oh, okay, you're there now. Like, how's that going for you? Are you enjoying that? Like, what's that like for you? And asking more safe questions and just being like, oh, that's interesting. Like, that's really cool. Oh, I haven't thought about that before. And, like, not saying, oh, well, why? Or, oh, did you do that? And there's so many of those questions that I was so scared of for so long. And
even think of all the companies we started and burnt to the ground in that period. Imagine telling people, oh, I made this whole company and I'm going to launch it. And if I told my parents and I'm like, yeah, no, I scrapped that, they would be like, you and Victoria spent so much time building this company. You're not even going to launch this company that you know will make you money, that you know will be easy and fun. And we were like, no, because it doesn't make sense.
You know, I actually told my therapist about one of them, and she loved it at first. And then the next week, I literally was like, so we burnt it to the ground because it just didn't seem right because of these 3 things. And she goes, I'm proud of you for realizing that. And I was like, oh my God, whoa.
Like,
I was like, I'm expanded. Like, that's support. Like, she didn't even care. Like, she thought it was an amazing idea the first week. And then she's like, oh, it doesn't make sense for you. That's fair.
Yeah. And if anybody else needs further expanding on how people in your life can and should support you, my husband, I think we have, like, goals of relationship, but I don't talk about it a lot. He did not care that I burnt it to the ground. He did not for 1 second worry. He did not say, Ashley, how are we going to pay bills? He didn't say, Ashley, what are you going to do? He asked me no questions. I am literally so grateful for that support because he knew the times we built a business, burned it to the ground. He knew every time we pivoted and changed our mind. He knew all the stress I was going through, and he never once did anything to make it worse or make me worry. He was in the boat with us. He was surviving. He's like, where are we going? We're going to go left. Let's go left. You want to go right? We're going to go right. You are sunk. All right, we'll just let you sink.
And then he's like, oh, you're trying to do left and right and side to side at the same time? No, choose one. Choose one. We actually can't move the boat that many directions.
He literally said, he's like, you guys are, that was the best. I think that was like when we're getting to level 7, rising up out of the darkness. And he's like, ladies, you got 4 ideas. I need you to pick 2 because you can't do all 4. You can do all 4 one day. And I even remember telling him, Adrian, what if we pick the wrong one? What if we do the wrong thing? He's like, oh, who cares? Just pick one. If it's the wrong thing, you'll find the right one later. And that support from a partner is so cool. And I don't think a lot of people have that, at least from the clients I've worked with. I know their partners are always judging them and worried about money and putting their own beliefs onto them. And I got lucky because my husband calls himself a god and he doesn't have any limiting beliefs according to him. So that really works out. But the support is so key.
And yeah. The support. It really just comes down to that.
Yeah. And I think that really led us having that support to the light at the end of the tunnel. We started to see it. And that's kind of level 7. You know, level 5 is you realize you're not happy in your business and you're successful. Level 6 is you're choosing rock bottom. You're choosing something else, even if you don't know what that something else is. And this rock bottom that we mentioned doesn't actually have to be rock bottom. You lose all your money, you lose all your clients, you lose your business, you lose everything. It just felt like a rock bottom because it didn't feel safe. It felt like I was saying no to money and opportunities, and that felt scary.
It felt like my dreams, my ego, my personality, my perceptions of life were rock bottoming.
Yeah, not financials,
it wasn't
not
me
anything like that.
Physically. And that's why it was like a chosen of like, look, I understand this path of life that I've gone on. Is it making me happy? And the ideas and everything that I was sold. So I need to burn these ideas and everything to the ground so I can find what the fuck actually makes me happy in life.
Yeah, and so we did that. And level 7, after we came out of that, is where you start to take action on all the things that we learned over December, January.
To take action and like start like, okay, that's what Adrienne said. Okay, choose. Just choose to try it out for a month. All right. And so we choose to. And then we did both. And
they both sucked.
Facts. One sucked faster than the other. And we realized
it's a work in progress and won't suck, but it's sucking right now a little bit.
I don't even care about it. It's like, whatever. It will work out.
Thing.
I believe everything will work out. And so, like, when we weren't happy with how one of them went, we literally right after we did it, we're like, okay, I'm not fucking happy. That was really annoying. How the fuck do we fix it? And then we literally went to a walk to celebrate us taking action.
Even if it didn't work out.
Also to buy a shirt for a funeral for me. And in that time, we figured out our next steps. And we're like, oh, look at us. We took action and we figured out the true problem and that we actually have to go after. And since that day, we have just been taking constant fucking action, constant aligned action, that has really just all felt right and just keeps leading up to this. And we kept saying, like, we need to, like, figure out those levels. We need to figure out those levels. And then this week we're like, you know what? We have to figure out the levels because of what we're doing. And so levels now. And so then we created the whole thing this week.
And
we've been talking about the idea for a long time. We just solidified what each level means this week.
Yeah. And I think it's cool because level 7, like the whole goal is to reconnect with your purpose. And we say constantly life is an experiment and this level is the experiment phase. We were expanding income streams to see if we liked them. We were living our dream week. I think that was really when we defined that we like working 3 hours in the morning and then maybe creative stuff in the afternoon if we feel like it. And I feel like I was deepening my connection with my intuition and I wasn't doing as much mindset stuff anymore. My mindset was good. My new beliefs were formed and I felt like I was testing out these new beliefs in real time, exploring what they looked like in the world, exploring what I liked. And I think what's interesting about the things and that we tried that didn't go well is it just showed us we were playing small, that we were still trying to stay safe and do the right thing and not do anything too scary and doing what we thought we had to do instead of what we actually wanted to do. So in taking that action, we were like, oh, we can do what we want. Like, what do we actually want to do? What do we actually want to say? And we started saying what we actually wanted to say. We started stitching people and calling people out and calling out toxic beliefs and saying the things that we want to say. And it continued to lead us to the place where level 8 is, which feels a little bit like a free fall because you're diving all the way into the things that you actually want to do. You're trusting it's going to work out. But I also realized we were accessing so many dreams that we didn't even know existed. Yes, we found a major project that we're so pumped to work on and we're going to announce in this episode, but I am realizing dreams I didn't even know I had, but if I asked my inner child when she was 5, she would have been like, of course we're going to do that. I love doing that, you know?
And I've never felt like things make so much sense. Like, anytime that I thought things make sense, it has never felt like this before. And in level 7, like, we just figured things out. We took small action. And it's funny to think back to that small action. We're like, look, they're doing it. They did it. Like, these level 2s did it. Why the fuck can't we do it? But we were taking the wrong action because we were trying to play small because we were still terrified about the next thing that felt bigger at the time that we weren't mentally ready for. But doing that small thing made us realize we can't keep doing small things because those aren't making us happy. We stopped that shit in August. Do not bring that back. And so we're like, no, let's take it. What's the problem? What are we scared of? And how do we take action on that little by little? And now I feel like this month, and that's why things have been feeling so good this week, is like we've been taking that itty bitty steps in the bigger right direction that we've been scared to do. And though, I'm not 100% and I'm not perfect on it and everything, and nor will I ever maybe be perfect on it, I don't know. But it keeps getting better and better and I've never felt more confident on it than I ever have in my life.
Right. And level 7 really did feel like addressing all the fears around the big thing that we wanted to do. Because we had to ask ourselves, why did we do these 2 small things? Why didn't we just do the big thing that we wanted to do? And I will let you guys know, the big thing that we wanted to do that we're going to announce, we wanted to do that since the summer. We created that in our minds in the summer when we said, why aren't we happy in our businesses? What could we do? We had the answer like 8 months ago of what we wanted to do.
We had the idea. We didn't have the answer. I'm just going to say that. We had the idea. We did not have all the information that we have now.
No, we have way more information. We had to go through the journey we went through, but I think it's interesting to think, like, this is something that we've wanted to do for months and months and months. We didn't know what it would look like at the time, but we knew it was coming. And I know I had to get over the fear of that being the thing that we do. I had to think about, why would I be seen in that way? Why would people care about me doing this thing? Why me? And it was almost like I had to work through other old beliefs that were popping up. And it was, for me, another time to dive into my mindset just for a little bit, ooh, why is this scary? And then figure it out. So that way now I'm like, yeah, of course this is going to work out. Of course this is going to be the thing. In addition to a lot of other dreams.
And it goes along with the purpose cycle that we talked about, 2-3 episodes ago of, okay, you know, like level 1 to 4 is like you're going through the purpose cycle and like you took so much action, and then like when you step back and we realized we were not being fulfilled, like that's when you choose our rock bottom, right? And so that's when we started the beginning of the cycle again. And now we're going through it again, and right now we're in an action step of taking action on what we finally feel aligned on. And so it's like interesting how those both kind of like interlap with one another. And so going through that, I didn't have the, how do you say, confidence that I did in August, but I also had to go through the journey that we were on to be able to gain that confidence, but also because the confidence is around the journey that we went through. And though it was some of the darkest months of my life.
So many tears. Because
they were chosen. It was also simultaneously showing me how unhappy I have been my whole life.
So true. And let me tell you, level 8, where we're accessing new dreams and we're continuing the action, but for some reason, this action feels different because it's not like, okay, now it's time to act on all the things. It feels a little bit slower. It's just, I know how to take aligned action. I know what I need to do every day. I am trusting that the right opportunities are going to come to me when I do the right things. And it feels like I'm building on that confidence that we've built over the past 6 months, but even more so. And it also feels like a shedding. I feel like I'm starting to give less of a fuck. And I will say, you know, Victoria and I talked about December. We felt like we couldn't say anything. And I told people I burnt my business to the ground. And I felt like I burnt my business to the ground. But this week was the first time I said, I don't give a fuck about people's businesses because I don't care about marketing or sales or how people do things. I care about this. I care about this evolution that people go through. And I said it for the first time online. And I was like, oh, that felt like burning my business to the ground. That felt scary. That was drawing a line in the sand. And so maybe that's also what level 8 is drawing a line in the sand of who you are, what you believe in. And guess what? I've lost clients because I said that, and I don't care because that's how I feel. And when I said it, it felt like a weight was lifted off my chest. I let everyone know I don't like what I used to do. I didn't find happiness doing what I used to do. And guess what's even cooler? I know what the fuck I'm gonna do now, and you guys are not even ready. And the people who want to come with me are gonna come, and they're gonna hop on my train, and we're gonna go. And everyone who doesn't want to be there is gonna hop off, and those are probably the people who weren't bringing me happiness in the first place. And it just feels so freeing. And I texted Victoria after I lost a client. I was like, I feel I am free. I'm living free in the free fall. Like, emphasis on free. I don't give a fuck that I'm falling. Where level 6, you're falling and it's scary. Now it's I'm falling and I know where the net is. I see the net. I built the net. I know where I'm going now.
Yeah, like I remember when we burnt one of the ideas to the ground. At that point, we were talking about this last week. I was like, I saw no light at the end of the tunnel. Like the light that I felt like was there was gone. and it was terrifying. I cried so much that week. And
I was so mad when you brought that up to me about the project she wanted to burn. And she's like, I don't feel like this is right. And I just had no words. And it's funny because Victoria and I talk about how we don't fight. And we literally just voice our opinions, share our feelings, and navigate it from there. And I just was trying to process what she was saying because I knew she was right and I knew the project wasn't right and I knew it wasn't making sense. But I was so mad. And I was like, then what? Why'd she have to bring this up? Why'd she have to point this out? I know she's fucking right, but this is so rude. I do not have an answer for her. And now what? Bitch, now what?
But it's the thing that didn't make us fight is we're okay with not having the answer. That's what going through this journey together, we got comfortable with just not knowing answers.
Oh, so
and not
true.
knowing them together. And so us going, like me saying that, I was like, fuck, I know this and I know I have to say it. And I was terrified and I was like, look, it's not going to work. And here's some reasons why. And
I'm like, look,
I don't know.
Makes so much sense. Right, but it could have been a fight because it could have been like me saying, no, we have to make this work because what else are we going to fucking do, Victoria? We need an answer. We need an answer right now. But when you go through this evolution, if you do it right in a way where you truly get unstuck and you truly transcend to the very last level and you actually find happiness in your life, you have to be okay with there not being answers. You have to be okay with not knowing what's next. And in this process, if you truly evolve through entrepreneurship, you will trust your intuition like nothing else. I wholeheartedly believe everything that Victoria comes up with will be the right thing. Everything I come up with will be the right thing because we are so tapped in that those strong feelings that we have that we know how to navigate because the intuitive pathway, decision pathway, they're going to lead us to the right thing even if we don't know where the F we're going yet.
And something that comes to my mind is, you know, we didn't have any answers. And there is, in anxiety, something that's talked about is, you know, the clouds will be over the sun, but the sun is still there. And you have to believe that the sun is still there and that the clouds will pass. And you sometimes have to allow and push the clouds to go. And sometimes you have to allow the clouds to go on their own. And it's like, you know, think Bob Ross, Happy Little Clouds, and just think, you know what, these clouds, they're going to pass. And that's when I really got comfortable with being like, look, the sun's still there on the other side. I don't know what it's going to be to get there. I don't know what's going to pass these clouds today or tomorrow, or maybe it takes a month or a week. But now I am getting a lot more comfortable dealing with that. And that, I feel like, is such an insane sense of confidence of just being so comfortable with unknown things. And now being able to say, if somebody asks me a question or Ashley asks me a question, and I can say, I don't know. I don't know. And that's okay. And knowing that I don't know is a fucking fine answer sometimes.
So true.
It's really relieving.
It's so relieving. And what's interesting is you're right. I feel so confident. And not just because of all the work that we've done, but because we've been rewarded while going throughout this process. The opportunities that have come my way, the money that has come our way, the experiences that we've had, I didn't even think was possible unless I was pumping out content that I used to, selling things like I used to. But because we're full-heartedly using our intuition and making aligned decisions, we still are getting shit. Like, what the heck? That's the coolest part, is even in our free fall, our money's taken care of. We're still getting invited to cool opportunities. We still have cool things coming. And I am most grateful that I know what my dreams are that I didn't know before. Like writing a freaking fantasy novel, like directing a film, like writing poetry. All the things I used to do as a kid, didn't think I could make money from. Now I don't give a shit if I make money from them because I know my life's going to work out and I know what I have to do to do the things I've always wanted to do. I know the community I've always wanted to be a part of. I'm going to go build it. I am going to do that and trust that the money comes. And again, like Victoria said in the beginning, this is a privileged place to be at where you can say, fuck the money, I'm going to do what makes me happy. You know, and it's really interesting because the level 1 and 2 people that we met at that event that inspired us to build the entrepreneur evolution, they even said, fuck the money, go do what you want to do. If all you can afford is a one-way ticket to Hawaii, buy the ticket and you'll find people when you get there. You'll make friends, you'll get food, you'll get the opportunities. And so it's not that that's impossible to do, but it's the same thing when you get to level 7, 8. You get to a place where like, I don't care about the money. We already established we don't care about the money. I'm going to believe that I get to do what I want and the money will follow. And I used to get so pissed when people would say that to me. I'm like, how dare you say that? There's no way that works out. There's no way you can just free flow through life and do what you want and have good things happen for you. And it's privilege because there's a lot of systems in our world that don't support that for everyone. But it's not an impossible idea for me to believe anymore.
Yeah, it's not impossible. It fucking happens randomly. And it's so weird how it shows up and when it happens. And I didn't truly believe in it until February when I just got handed a $10,000 check.
That, when you got that?
Nowhere. And, I mean, for context, it was my birthday, and my grandfather just gave me $10,000. It wasn't for my birthday. Basically, they're trying to do pre-will shit, and so that we don't get taxed on it and everything, and just gave everyone $10,000. It wasn't just me. And, like, okay, that makes sense, but, like, I had no idea that was coming. How the fuck would I have known that? They just did that because my grandma died, and, like, apparently they decided to do that and whatever. And, like, I was like, is he in his right context of mind? But, like, $10,000 just got landed in my lap when I started doing everything that I wanted to do. And when I stopped saying, like, I'm so scared, how will I make the bills? How will I do this? I've never been fucking short on a bill in my life. I have never actually been in that terrifying place. And I feel bad for anybody who has. And I have been close in that in my childhood, and that's where a lot of the issues had stemmed from. But I haven't felt that in a long time, and so I don't need to keep pretending like I'm at that place when I'm not. And then to have that dropped in my lap, it's like, oh, what? I didn't predict this. I didn't, like, this could have happened. This could have not happened. Who knows? This could have happened 3 months later. I have no idea how this happened. It was just there. And so to know that, like, these opportunities and things can just come to me whenever, it's okay.
It's okay. And we're safe. And what's really cool is the next step in this entrepreneur evolution, if you're wondering, well, what the heck is level 9 and level 10, is fulfilled and financed is the goal that we've set out. I've already said this before, booked and busy is bullshit, and that's what the entrepreneur ladder promotes. Booked and busy, the more full your calendar is, the more important you are, the more money you'll make, yada, yada, yada. I don't give a shit about that. I want to be fulfilled and financed. I want to be so satisfied with my life, and I want to feel like the universe is my sugar daddy, and it's constantly providing me funds, and I don't have to worry about where they come from, as long as I do what brings me joy and whatever that means for me in that moment, in that period of time. The motivation is fulfillment. And after you access that and you tap into that, it's level 10, baby. It's living in the purpose cycle. Your motivation is living by the new beliefs that you've set out for yourself, the new definition of what a CEO is, the new definition of what it means to be a successful entrepreneur, and you get to stay there. And Victoria and I explored this, and I was like, well, after level 10, is there ever a rock bottom again? Are you ever going to realize that you're not on the right path? And the thing that happens when you really redefine your belief systems is you can't, yes, things might happen in your life that rock you and shake you and bad things could come, but you already know what your belief system is, so your only job is to live in that aligned action and trust your intuition. And once you truly tap into that intuition and you truly know the beliefs that guide you, you get to live in level 10 because you know how to vibe there and stay there and nothing can shake you, because you know who you are and you believe wholeheartedly that everything gets to work out for you.
And the only time it would change is if your belief system changes.
And if it does,
and so,
vibes.
Unless you don't, and I mean, like, maybe you still do need to keep changing belief systems, but, like, in a sense, like, you really shouldn't, like, not have to, but there shouldn't be as much to change, and you're less likely to fall back on old ones because you've built abundance inside of fulfillment in life and everything, and know that you will feel supported. And so that no matter what, you will always feel supported because on a subconscious level, you are supported. And so you'll always find the support in whatever you need. And so you are a lot less likely to fall back on that. And even if you were to have like some rock bottoms or whatever, they're not going to be the same.
Or feel the same. Your reaction won't be the same. It's just
And I'll tell you what they'll be like in a few years.
Yes, we'll tell you. We'll tell you. But they'll be different because your confidence level is different. You know,
yeah.
I even think of myself now, like, let's say, for example, this project that we have upcoming doesn't work out. I'm not going to be as shaken up as I was when the first project didn't work out, you know?
No, I actually don't want to think about that. I wholeheartedly believe that it will work out, so I wholeheartedly believe that it's not an option on the table right now. Okay,
there you go.
Bye.
There you go.
But it's also because I know it's needed. I know there's so much in this market, like whatever. I
guess we should just say what it is because it's released now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the entrepreneur evolution, right? Levels 1 through 10. This is what you go through on a personal level through entrepreneurship. You can choose to follow the path or the path will happen to you, but this is what happens. And Victoria and I know that we're not alone in the world where people are content creators, creatives, entrepreneurs, whatever, experiencing a time in their life where they're not as happy as they thought they would be once they've achieved the amount of success they were looking for. And so we realized there's a lot of things lacking in the entrepreneur space. And the biggest one is community. We've talked so much about how we couldn't have gone through this entrepreneur evolution without each other. It would have been way scarier. It would have been way easier to fall into old traps of, oh, well, I guess I'll just go back to one-on-one coaching, or I guess I'll just accept this brand deal and doing things the way we used to do them because it felt safe and easy. We had a partner in crime to say, no, wait, let's stand firm in our beliefs. Like, what if we said no? What if we just believe the right thing is coming? What if we believe the ideas are coming? And so we've talked about this a lot, and we want to create that space. We want to create that collective, that community of people who are learning what their actual beliefs are, who are learning what their dreams are, who are learning how the fuck they want to do life and business, so that way their life isn't their business, but their business is a tool that supports their life. And tapping into the belief that your dreams get to come true. You get to have friends who support you and understand you and don't question you. And everything works out for you in any way that you want it to at any stage of your life.
You know what you made me think of is the Polar Express. And so it's like, we want to have people believe in you even when you can't have the belief yourself.
Yeah.
Because like some days I didn't believe and Ashley did. And I said, okay, well, I mean, I trust her. We'll go along. And, you know, some days it was me. It was like, no, it makes sense. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And she was like, okay, sure. I mean, whatever.
If you say so, lady.
Whatever. It's just high anxiety day, I guess, or whatever. And like, it's so important to have people who believe in you and the process when you don't.
And here's the thing. Victoria and I wholeheartedly believe in this process because we've seen this process work in our lives, and the amount of success in the way that we've redefined it, the amount of happiness, the amount of opportunities that we have now are unparalleled. And if you are looking for two people to believe in you and a community, because we're going to get everyone in our collective to back you up, we're the two people that are going to believe in you in this process because we know it works. And so we're launching the Living Adventures Collective, the very first round of it, where we are taking a small group of entrepreneurs and creatives and neurodivergent people and helping them through this process of redefining the success that they've built, so it doesn't just support the entrepreneurship ladder, but it supports the dreams that maybe you've forgotten, or maybe you have hidden down so deep that you don't even believe they're possible.
Yeah. And to help you go from that dark place of choosing that level 4, realizing you're not happy and everything, where we were in August, and choosing that deep, deep fucking rock bottom to all the way, hopefully taking you to level 7, level 8, to where we are now, to where like you do see that path forward, and no matter what comes your way, you are confident you'll figure it out. And to have that community that supports you to go through it with other like-minded people, and to have the support system that believes in you the entire fucking time, that knows that there will always be something at the end when there doesn't feel like there's anything that could ever come, and to go through all of the fucking bullshit that you're gonna have to go through that you don't even realize exist in your life, that I had no idea for such a long time, but I got through. And I know it's a terrifying thing to go through, but it is better when you have other people.
It's so much better when you have other people, and this collective experience is going to happen over 6 months, and it's going to transform your life. My life is so much different than it was 6 months ago, and I'm so much better for it. I'm so much happier for it, and I can't even imagine what it would have been like if we got to do it the way this collective will do it, where it's a group of, up to 9 people all going through the same thing, all supporting each other, all at the height of their success with millions of followers and like tons of money, all knowing the same feelings that we're all going through, and all choosing together to support each other and come up with ideas and find their creativity again and find their purpose and make money in a way that feels fun, and then end it all with a big fat ass retreat where we all get to meet in person and solidify everything new that you've found in your life to the point where you are fulfilled in finance. You are totally 100% doing everything you've ever wanted to do, and not shaming yourself anymore for the shit that you thought you once had to do.
So it's like, right, is this experience will be 6 months long, and I've never done anything for 6 months. That's crazy to me. But it stands true of like, it takes 30 days to start to create a habit. It takes 90 days to change the belief system to make it a true habit. And it takes 6 months to change your fucking life. 2 years ago, I heard that. And, I've done that many times, 6 months over, just redoing my entire fucking life. And it has been rough. And the past one has been the roughest of them all, if I will admit that, but also the most rewarding. And it really does stand true that it takes 6 months, but it's also a really good 6 months.
It's a really good 6 months. And the way we'll do the 6 months will be even better than whatever the F we did. Because whatever the F we did was blind. It was blind. But this is so much more structured in a way that helps you tap into your intuition. Imagine, no one does this in collectives or mastermind experiences. And I think that's the problem, is a lot of times we get influenced by what other people are doing. But the first thing we work on in the collective is your intuition. So no matter what Sally is doing or Joe is doing, you're going to know what you need to be doing, because your intuition is going to guide you, and you're not going to get blinded by, oh, but they're writing a book, maybe I should write a book. Like, unless you really want to write one, that's not what you have to do. And so I'm really excited, because on the other side, you do come out with a deep trust in yourself, a deep trust in the fact that the world is going to support you. And you don't feel bad that you had a dream, you built it, and you no longer want it. And I know there's so many people right now living in that space where they're content creators. They built their dream life. Many people would envy them, but they don't want it anymore. They've built their business up. They're making hundreds of thousands of dollars, but they're burnt out. They're tired, and they don't give a shit about the things they have to do anymore. And you don't have to operate in that space. You can forgive yourself for feeling bad about that, because truly there's nothing to feel bad about, and create a life that you don't ever have to feel that way again. And that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and if you don't believe us, go look at Vanessa Lau.
Vanessa Lau, yeah, the business coach.
I'd never heard of her, but apparently she's big.
Vanessa Lau is
I also don't know any business coaches.
Yeah, she's a popular business coach, and she did the same thing. She's kind of like in level 6 of the entrepreneurship evolution, is she's choosing rock bottom. She's going on an 8-month sabbatical to do all the things that we're going to do inside of the Living Adventures Collective in her own process. But she's choosing to close down a business that makes her $500,000 a month. And it's fine. And if you need that as an expander and as permission that it's safe to do that, it is. It is okay to release the things that once brought you joy, that fulfill you, that make you money, in search of fulfilled and financed in a way where you're actually happy. If you don't want to work, you don't have to work. If you do want to work, you work how much you want to work. But you always know money is coming in, and your passions truly fund your dream life. And your passions aren't what you thought your passions had to be.
And it's okay to not really know what your passions are at that point. And it's okay to burn it all down to the ground, even though, yes, at once you were helping others and that's great and you enjoyed doing it. But if you're not enjoying it anymore, then you do not have to continue. And I think for me, for a long time, it felt like I had to continue because, like, I was good at it. I should do it. Why should I complain? And I really had to work through that sense of it's okay, like, somebody else can fill the void. And it's also not my responsibility to take care of everybody else before myself. Like, if I'm not well, then, like, I'm not doing a good job. I should be able to be happy. And nobody else is going to prioritize me being happy than me. It has to be me first. And until that, I will never truly feel happy. And because I can say this is, I was never fucking happy. And so I did prioritize me. And now I am really happy. I'll be honest. I've never been happier. So stands true.
I think what you say too about it's hard when you're really good at it. I'm really good at coaching. I'm really good at business. I'm really good at creating content. I'm really good at creating videos. And this is where we fall into this trap of being really good at something and thinking that we should just do it because we're good at it. It's the zone of excellence. This is where most people find themselves trapped in. You do it because you're good at it. You're a content creator because you're good at it. You're getting brand deals because you're good at it. You're running $1 million business because you're good at it. But is that your zone of genius? Because that's where we all want to operate in, is your zone of genius. It's not just you doing things that you're good at or that you're excellent at. It's you doing things that light you the fuck up. That's your zone of genius. It's where you're in your, like, not just your excellence, but your prime. You're in your creative flow. You're being yourself and you're so fucking happy and fulfilled. And if you're not operating in that spot and you're just like, well, I'm going to keep doing this because I'm good at it, you're going to stay stuck in the entrepreneur evolution until you could admit that you are worthy of operating in your zone of genius, and not in the bullshit CEO way where people are like, take things off your plate, hire team members so you can be in your zone of genius. I don't give a fuck about that. I mean, what lights you up? If you could do anything with your time and money didn't fucking matter, what would you do? I asked my audience that and people are like, I want to travel, I want to do this. I'm like, then you should be fucking doing that. That's the only thing that you should be doing. If you don't want to be burnt out and that would make you happy today, what can you do to not be burnt out, And that's the most important thing, is how can you shift into that zone of genius in a true manner, not a CEO manner, but a true, this is the shit that makes me happy way.
Damn, this was a good episode.
This was a fucking good episode. If you want to sign up for the Living Adventures Collective, aka LAC, please click the link in the description below. We are accepting applications. We're only letting up to 9 people join the collective, so it's going to be super small. And after you submit your application, we're going to go through an interview process to make sure that we get the right people who are at the right level of entrepreneurship, who have the right mindset to support other people and feel supported themselves. We're really curating this group to be the best people to move them through these levels of their evolution so they can come out on the other side knowing that fulfilled and financed exists for them.
Yeah, 100%.
Whoop whoop. All right, well, that's it for us. We're gonna have way more coming out on the entrepreneur evolution in the future because this is our shit. And obviously we didn't even touch on all the levels that exist, the motivations, the feelings, all the things. So if you have questions about the entrepreneurship evolution, head to our Instagram. We'll have posts about it that explain it. And I think we'll see you on the next episode.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.